Hello! Welcome to my 2024 reading journal flip through. This is the journal that I have been using so far in 2024. It's all filled up now. I actually started this journal in, I think, November of 2023, and it's lasted me until June of 2024. So today I'm going to be showing you inside. I'm going to probably start with the 2024 spreads. This journal is from Notebook Therapy. I think it's the Moonlit Dusk journal. I'm not sure. As you can see, it's a little bit beat up from a lot of use, and it's nice and thick now. I have finished up this journal now, so I will be switching to a new one very soon, which I'm very excited about. A lot of the spreads that I have in here are 2024 yearly spreads. So probably for the rest of the year, I'm still going to be using this journal in a lot of ways. And I'll do another flip through at the end of the year to kind of see how a lot of these spreads have changed now that they have more reading data and things like that. But this is just a little bit of a mid-year check-in. First, I want to show you the back because this is actually where I keep all these little book covers. You'll see quickly that I use these all the time in my spreads, these little covers. I just love the way they look visually. All I do for these covers is I just search them up on Google, copy them, paste them into a Google Doc, and then I just like size them down. So these ones are 2 inches tall with a scaled width, and these are the main size that I use, but I do have some smaller ones as well. I think this one's 1 inch, this one's like 1.5 inches. So let's go ahead and start with a flip through. Okay, so my spreads officially start here, but I do have one page at first. This is my no releases page for 2024. I actually created a little bit of a different one later on in the journal, but this is just a way for me to kind of put down when new books are coming out. But the spreads do officially start here. I have kind of 3 different types of spreads throughout this journal. I have these yearly spreads, which are mainly at the beginning, and then I have a couple throughout as well. I have my monthly setups, which in this journal I made it up till June, and then I have my individual book spreads, and a lot of these setups and spreads I do have videos for, so I do have a video for this if you're interested in seeing how I did it. But I did a bit of like a floral and gold craft paper theme for 2024, and I really love how it turned out. It was very easy and simple. So I have my cover page here. Here I have my reading goals for the year, which I don't think I'm doing like super great on these. I have read 90 books, which I think I'm like exactly on track for that. Read 5 historical fictions. I've definitely read a couple. I don't think 5 yet. Read 5 classics. I've read 1, and that was for school. And then read 2 books for every 1 bought. Nope. Read 80 to 90% of physical TBR. Not too great on that one either. I have my yearly TBR, so 24 books to read in 2024. I'm actually going to be scrapping this page a little bit because I just didn't put a lot of thought into this. I kind of just put down random 24 books that I wanted to read, and a lot of these I don't really want. Not that I don't want to read them anymore, I just didn't take into account like series and the books that I already own that I haven't read. A lot of these books I don't own, and so I don't want to go out and buy them just for this TBR. So I think I'm going to create a different spread at the end of the journal with I think maybe 10 books that I definitely want to read by the time the year ends. I have read a couple. I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books. And there are still a couple that I do want to read this year, but for now I'm going to scrap this. Then I have my yearly book log. This is pretty self-explanatory. Every time I read a book, I color in one of the squares. This is also double functional because the color kind of coordinates to how I read a book. So I have this peach color for physical books, pink for Kindle or ebooks, and then purple for audiobooks. And then I have a little gold dot for library books. I don't read really any physical books from the library, but I use the library a lot for ebooks and audiobooks. So it's just an interesting way to see how I read a lot of my books. Then we have my physical TBR spread. So I made a bit of a Dutch door setup so I had room to grow. And I think I made this a little bit too complicated, but basically at the beginning of the year I just wrote down all the books that I own but haven't yet read. Every time I buy a new book or just acquire a new book, I add it to the list. Every time I unhaul a book, I cross it out. And every time I read a book, I highlight it. And the color that I'm highlighting it correlates to the month that I read it. I do really like this page. I think it's really good visual way to kind of see all the books that I haven't yet read, and just also kind of see when I read books into relation to when I bought them. So I do like the concept of this. I think I would do it a little bit differently next year. But as you can see, I have a lot of books that I haven't yet read, and I do tend to read a lot of the more recent purchases rather than some of these older ones, but it's okay. Then we have potentially my favorite page in the whole journal, which is my books read page. The concept of this with like the starry window and the bookshelves is from Mandy Journals on Instagram. Very talented. I love her artwork a lot. I absolutely love this page. It was so fun to create. Basically, every time I read a book, I color in one of the spaces and I write the title, and then the color goes with the month that I read them. It's the same color system from this page. So like all the pink books I read in January, orange in February, now I'm on July, so all the purple books. I think I have 96 spaces here, so we'll see how that fills up. But I love how this looks, and I can't wait to see it continue to fill up throughout the year. This was just so fun to make. Then I have my top 10 reads of 2023. So this, I don't think this list is the same. Like, I would probably change things around, but this is just a fun way to kind of reflect on the books that I loved last year. And I did a little bit of journaling for them as well. These are my top 4, and I would stand by these. I love all 4 of these so much. Then I was watching so many reading journal setups, so I did a bit of a page where I could just write down some spread ideas that I wanted to implement. Since this was my first year keeping like a completely separate reading journal and then being consistent with it, I definitely did a lot of experimenting. I made a lot of spreads just to see if I would like them or not, and I think next year I have a much clearer idea of like which spreads I like to use. Like for example, this spread, this is an alphabet page. I probably wouldn't do this again just because there's kind of a couple letters that a lot of book titles have, and then there's a couple that just I have a hard time filling up, and I probably won't do this one again, but it was fun. Then we have my series tracker. The first one, I have another one because I ran out of space. I love this page so much. You'll see that I kind of have more of a drawing style earlier in the journal, but honestly from this point forward, most of my spreads are this kind of scrapbook style. I use a lot of paper and washi tape and stickers and things like that. I love how this page turned out, and I think I'm doing pretty good with all these series. I have finished a couple of them, I'm up to date with a couple of them. The star means the books came out this year, and then some of them I'm probably going to abandon for now, these 2, and then this one I just started. I love how this page looks. Then I have my Hall of Fame, so this is my favorite book by month. And I actually do have to add mine for June, which is Strange the Dreamer. I forgot to put this one in here. Basically, every single month I just pick my favorite book and add it. It's a little bit hard sometimes. I have months where I have a lot of favorites, and sometimes there's not like an obvious choice for me, but I absolutely love all these books, and it's nice to see them all on one page. I can't wait to see how this fills up throughout the rest of the year. Okay, then we have my first individual book spread. So this is for the Letters of Enchantment duology. Ruthless Vows, I think, was the first book that I finished this year, and I love this series so much, and I also love this page so much. I try to make my individual book spreads kind of match the theme of the book itself. So this is a historical fantasy book, so I did like lots of typewriters, and I ripped out a piece of paper from my notebook to add. I really like this lettering style with like the little frame. I think it looks cool. And then this book has some of my favorite quotes ever, so I definitely had to add those as well. And I love how this turned out. For most of the other book spreads that I have in this journal, I do have videos for them. This one I don't, but you can kind of get the idea of how I did it. And then we have my January spreads. I honestly don't really like how these turn out, so we'll just go through it quickly. But TBR, cover page, and then my books read. This is when I decided to make these a little bit bigger for next month. Another book spread for Half a Soul, which I technically read last year, but I love this book so much. So I love how this spread turned out too. I think it's very kind of reminiscent of the Regency kind of style of this book. And in this one I added some like pictures from Pinterest. I love this book so much. Then I have a little page for the rereads. I need to update this page because there are a couple more books that I definitely want to reread this year. So far the only book that I've reread is The Hunger Games, and then I started Clockwork Angel, but I definitely want to do more by the end of the year. Another book page, this is probably one of my favorite ones. I love this series so much, and I really like how this page turned out. Basically, I was very inspired by the cover on the second book. It's just super, super beautiful, and I love how this turned out. Then I just have a little bit of a wish list for books that I want to buy. I just did a random like reading prompts page. I never look at this page. It was just because I wanted to make a spread. I didn't know what to do. February, I love how this turned out. I love the butterflies all over it. I did stop doing cover pages. I think in March I stopped just because I feel like I don't need one. And this is my TBR. How I've kind of formatted these monthlies has changed a lot, and I want to do something different for July as well. It was kind of nice to experiment with it. Books I read in February. Reading stats, and then I tried doing this like reading tracker calendar thing, and I did not stick with it, so I'm not doing that again. Then we have a page for all the 5-star reads. I have another one to update here, which is Strange the Dreamer. These are all the books that I have given 5 stars this year. I don't know if I necessarily agree with all of these anymore, but I do still love them, and I loved them when I read them. So I think that's important. I don't think I'm a super critical reader. I kind of just, if I enjoy a book, then I enjoy it, you know? But I do love all these books so much. I don't know what my favorite is. I think, yeah, I don't know. I love so many of these. Maybe this one? I feel like these 3 right now are my top 3. I'm not sure yet, though. I can't wait to see this fill out. I hope that I run out of space and I need another page. I have a little audiobook tracker to keep track of the books I read via audiobook. And then I just did a little fantasy challenge to see like some of the most well-known fantasy, if I've read them or not. Then I have my reading stats page. So this is my monthly reading stats page, and I realized that I have not filled it out for June yet, so I need to go and do that. Basically, I keep track of books read, books bought, total pages read, physical books read, ebooks, audiobook, library, average rating, and current physical TBR. Because I did this, I don't know if you noticed, but I do have reading stats for some of the months, like this is February, and it is a little bit redundant, so I think I'm going to stop doing reading stats in general for each month and just keep it here. It's a little bit neater, and just very nice to see, I think, at the end of the year. So I do need to go fill that out for June. This is another one of my favorite pages. This is my Books Around the World spread. So basically, I cut out a little map, and this is just a way for me to keep track of books from different parts of the world. This is not books from like authors from different countries. It's books that take place in different countries, and also kind of fantasy books that are inspired by like the culture or the history of different countries as well. That's kind of what this is. I haven't read about a lot of different countries, as you can see, but to be fair, I do mainly read fantasy, and a lot of those books don't even take place on Earth, so I have read a decent amount, and I think I've added to this page a lot this year, but I definitely want to read more from some of these other countries. I love this page because I love geography. This is for The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. I don't love how this spread turned out. I think it's a little bit messy looking, but this paper is beautiful, and I think it matches the cover very well. This was a fun spread to create. I have my March spread, so this is my TBR, reading stats. I did like a bit of a space theme, and then the books that I read in March. All this scrapbook paper that I use is what's making this journal so thick, and I love it. Oh, this is another one of my favorites, my Gilded Wolves page. I read this series earlier this year and I loved it, and it's a historical fantasy. It's set in Paris and Russia and Venice, so I wanted to make, you know, the spread kind of reminiscent of that, and I love how it turned out. Then I have my spring TBR, which I haven't done great with either. I don't really do great with most of my TBRs, to be honest, but they're just fun to create. I do still want to read all of these books, like all the ones that I haven't read yet, so hopefully I can read them throughout the rest of the year. But I love how this page turned out. I love the stickers and the pink. It's very spring, I think. Another TBR, this is for my historical fictions. As you can see, I've only read one of them, but these are just ones to kind of keep my eye out for. Then I have my April spread. I love how this turned out. I think it's a little messy, but I really do like the little Dutch door and all the books that I read in April. I think April was one of my favorite reading months. I really enjoyed all these books. My May spread, I think this is my favorite monthly setup. I just love how dainty it looks. I love the little book covers. I think they're really fun. And then in May I read 9 books, which I think is the most I've read in a month so far this year. Another book spread for the City of Stardust, which I also really enjoyed. And then my June spread, which I guess we're in July now, so this is complete. I only read 5 books in June, though I did really enjoy them all. So I kind of used this page for just to keep track of my July reads, because my new journal hasn't come yet, so I haven't set that up. And then I decided to kind of backlog some more book spreads. I fell off of it a little bit for some books I read earlier this year. I haven't finished these yet. This is for Legendborn and Bloodmarked. I have one for Where the Dark Stands Still, which I need to finish. And then I have a spread dedicated to all the books that I bought this year. So it's very humbling. Basically, I had another spread like this for books bought, but it was very messy. I didn't really like it, so I redid it recently, and I really love how this spread looks. So every time I buy a book, I add it to here. Every time I read a book, I check it off. Not doing great, but it's okay. It is a very nice visual way to see it, and I really like how this spread turned out. And I have room to grow. Then this is my new releases spread. I haven't decorated this page yet, but this is what I mean when I said I did a new release page. So the idea here is that every time I read one of these books, I can put the little cover on top of it. There's a lot of books coming out in July that I'm really excited about. Then I just decided to do a page for my special editions, because I've been buying a lot this year and I couldn't really keep track of that, and this is more for like TBR books, so I wanted a separate page for it. And then this is my second series tracker, since I needed more room. So more series that I've started or plan to start soon. And then this is the last official spread in this journal. It's my mid-year wrap-up page. So I answered the questions that go with a mid-year book wrap-up and just decorated it, and I love how this turned out. I think this is a very nice way to end off the journal. I have one page left. I think this will go to my maybe my TBR for the rest of the year. And then I just have my book log page, which I keep in the back of my journal, where I can log all the books that I've read. I keep track of book title, author, star rating, and the date that I finish it. And I have a couple pages left where I'll continue this. And then that's it. That's the end of my journal. This is the last page. I hope you enjoyed this flip through. A lot of these spreads, as you can see, are not all filled out because they're yearly spreads. So I'm going to do another flip through at the end of the year where I can show you the progress, how they look all filled out hopefully, and then also whatever I fill out in my second journal. I really love this journal so much. It served me so well this year, so I'm very, very excited to start a new one. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later.